What if everything you know about human history is wrong? What if the story we've been told, that civilization began 5,000 years ago in Sumer and progressed linearly through Egypt, Greece, Rome to the modern world, is just the latest chapter in a much older book? Tonight, I'm going to show you evidence that suggests we are not the first advanced civilization on Earth. We're not even the second or third. According to ancient records carved into clay 4,000 years ago, we are the seventh, and the six civilizations that came before us, they rose, flourished, and fell, leaving behind only fragments, myths, and a warning encoded in impossible numbers. This is not speculation. It is written in the Sumerian king list, one of the most mysterious documents ever discovered. A clay prism sitting in Oxford's Ashmolean Museum chronicles something that should not exist. 8 kings who ruled before a catastrophic flood, their reigns spanning not decades or centuries but hundreds of thousands of years. The first king, Alulim, ruled for 28,800 years. The second, Alaljar, for 36,000 years. 8 kings total, their combined rule lasting 241,200 years. Then the text states simply, "The flood swept over. After the waters receded, everything changed. The post-flood kings lived shorter lives, still impossibly long, but progressively decreasing. As you read further, the numbers continue shrinking, 700 years, 400 years, 200 years, until finally, when we reach rulers we can verify through other historical records, the lifespans become normal, human. Mainstream scholars dismiss these numbers as mythology, religious symbolism, ancient exaggeration. But what if they are neither myth nor exaggeration? What if they are compressed history, 6 complete cycles of civilization encoded into 8 archetypal kings? What if each king represents an entire epoch and we are living in the 7th age? Let your mind settle. Breathe slowly. This is for those who sense that human history is deeper, stranger, and more cyclical than we have been taught. The evidence in clay. The Sumerians were the first civilization, according to our textbooks. They appeared around 4,500 BCE in southern Mesopotamia. They built the first cities. They invented writing. They gave us the wheel, mathematics, and the 60-minute hour. But they themselves tell a different story. The opening line of the king list states that after kingship descended from heaven, the kingship was in Eridu, descended, not created, not invented. It came from somewhere or sometime else. Here's what makes this extraordinary. When archaeologists excavated Eridu, they found 17 temples stacked one atop another, each built on the ruins of the previous one, maintaining identical sacred geometry and orientation. It was as if they were following an ancient blueprint that predated them all. Beneath these temples, beneath the oldest foundations, they found physical proof of the flood, a layer of clean river silt 8 feet thick, the unmistakable signature of catastrophic inundation. Below that flood layer, there was more evidence of habitation. Older pottery, different styles, people who lived before. British archaeologist Leonard Woolley found identical flood deposits at Ur, Uruk, Kish, and Shuruppak, all dating to approximately 2,900 BCE, a real flood that separated older settlements from newer ones. The physical evidence confirms what the clay tablets claim. Civilizations existed before the flood. The flood destroyed them, and then new civilizations rose from the survivors. But here is where it gets profound. Those 8 antediluvian kings with their impossible lifespans are not individual rulers. They are epochs, entire civilizations compressed into symbolic figures. Think about how we describe history. We say the Victorian era as if Queen Victoria personally shaped those decades. We refer to the Bronze Age as a single period spanning over 1,000 years. We compress vast stretches of time into named eras. The Sumerians did the same thing, but they were recording something far older. Each king represents a complete cycle of civilization. Each impossibly long reign is an epoch measured in the rise and fall of cultures. 8 antediluvian epochs. 6 complete cycles came before the flood that separated the old world from ours. Then the 7th age began. Our age, recorded as progressively shorter reigns because the scribes were now documenting their own time, where individual kings ruled for human lifespans. We are the 7th civilization. The evidence goes far beyond Sumer. The global pattern. If the Sumerian king list stood alone, we might dismiss it as local mythology, but it does not stand alone. Across the world, separated by oceans and millennia, ancient cultures preserved the same pattern. Multiple ages of humanity, each ending in catastrophe, each shorter than the last. In India, the Hindu concept of the yugas describes 4 ages cycling endlessly. And these are not just philosophical ideas. They are detailed chronologies with precise mathematical ratios. Satya Yuga, the Golden Age, lasts 1,728,000 years. Treta Yuga, the Silver Age, lasts 1,296,000 years. Dvapara Yuga, the Bronze Age, lasts 864,000 years. Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, lasts 432,000 years. 4 ages follow a precise 4:3:2:1 ratio, together forming one Mahayuga of 4,320,000 years. After Kali Yuga reaches its darkest point, the world is destroyed and reborn. Sound familiar? Long ages, progressive decline, catastrophic reset. This same pattern appears in the Sumerian king list and in Hindu texts that go back thousands of years, from a culture that had no contact with Mesopotamia. The ancient Greeks preserved a similar schema as the 5 ages of man: golden, silver, bronze, heroic, iron, each age declining in virtue and lifespan. Hesiod, writing in 800 BCE, placed himself in the Iron Age and lamented that he wished he had been born earlier. He looked backward with longing, not forward with hope. The Norse had Ragnarok, cyclical destruction and rebirth of all 9 realms. Zoroastrian tradition described world ages of 3,000 years each, 12,000 years total. In Mesoamerica, the Aztecs preserved the legend of the 5 suns, 5 complete world ages, each ending in catastrophic destruction. The current world, they believed, was the 5th sun, doomed like the others to eventually perish. The Maya tracked time in nested cycles. The Baktun is 394 years, the Pictun is 7,885 years, the Kalabtun is 158,000 years. The Kinchiltun is 3.15 million years. Wheels within wheels within wheels. They were thinking in deep time, in cycles so vast most of us can barely imagine. Here is what should make us pause. Cultures that never met, that spoke different languages, that developed on different continents, all preserved the same essential framework, not vague creation myths. Specific, detailed chronologies describing multiple ages of humanity, progressive decline, catastrophic destruction, and rebirth. Why would they all encode this pattern unless they were preserving a memory of something real? Not individual floods or disasters, those are common, but the specific pattern matters. 6 ages before ours, each one rising and falling, each one leaving fragments for the next to inherit. The Sumerians called them 8 kings, but if we remove the 2 transitional figures who ruled immediately before and after the flood, we get 6 distinct pre-flood epochs. 6 civilizations came before the 7th age, which is our age. The geological evidence is striking. The standard explanation is convergent evolution of myth. Humans everywhere experience disasters. We fear death. So we project these anxieties onto cosmic timescales, but that does not account for the mathematical precision, the exact ratios, the specific chronologies. What if they are not projections but memories, cultural memories of something real? The geological record supports this possibility. Around 12,000 years ago, the last ice age ended catastrophically. Ice sheets melted, and sea levels rose more than 300 feet. Coastlines vanished beneath expanding oceans. This event, Meltwater Pulse 1A, unfolded within just a few centuries. For the people living through it, it was an apocalypse. If advanced cultures existed along those coasts, and coastlines provide optimal resources, they were completely erased. Their ruins now lie underwater, beyond archaeological reach. Here's what we know. Humans have been anatomically modern for 200,000 years. They have been behaviorally modern for 50,000 to 70,000 years. We have solid evidence for the last 10,000 years. Sumer, Egypt, recorded history. That leaves 40,000 to 60,000 years unaccounted for. The standard answer is that nothing much happened. Hunter-gatherers, no cities, no civilization. But what if that is wrong? What if 6 complete cycles of civilization rose and fell during those lost millennia? The evidence keeps pushing back timelines. Göbekli Tepe, massive temples from 9,500 BCE, built by supposed hunter-gatherers. They were deliberately buried around 8,000 BCE. Underwater structures off India date to 9,000 years or earlier. Vast Amazon settlements revealed by LiDAR. Anomalies that should not exist. Every discovery shows humans were sophisticated earlier than believed. Here's what the King List suggests. 6 civilizations rose during those lost 40,000 years. Each developed agriculture, architecture, and astronomy. Each reached heights appropriate to their era. Each eventually collapsed due to climate change, disease, or disaster. After each collapse, survivors rebuilt with fragments. Seeds from previous ages, half-remembered stories, partially understood technologies. Each new civilization inherited knowledge, so each rose higher. But each also fell, adding its layer to the record, its myths to tradition. 6 cycles before the Great Flood destroyed the 6th civilization's coastal cities around 12,000 years ago. Survivors fled inland with what they could carry. When water stabilized and the Holocene began, our current epoch, they rebuilt in Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and China. The 7th age began. Our age, mapping the 7 ages. If we accept this framework, that 6 civilizations came before ours, can we map them? The Sumerian king list gives us a template. 8 antediluvian kings, but if we interpret them as epochs rather than individuals, a pattern emerges. First age, Alulim, 28,800 years. The emergence of behaviorally modern humans somewhere between 70,000 and 50,000 years ago. Development of language, symbolic thought, complex tool-making, and art. The longest reign represents the slowest cultural evolution. Everything had to be discovered from scratch. Fire mastered, tools refined, social structures formed. This age saw the Great Migration out of Africa, the spread of humanity across continents. They left behind cave paintings, carved figurines, and carefully shaped stone tools. The foundations of everything that would follow. Second age, Alaljar, 36,000 years. Expansion and diversification across every habitable environment. Humans adapted to frozen tundra, scorching deserts, tropical forests, coastal regions. Each environment shaped different innovations. The peak of hunter-gatherer sophistication, knowledge systems so complex they seem almost impossible without writing. Astronomical observations tracked seasons and animal migrations. Oral traditions preserved environmental knowledge across generations. Social networks spanned hundreds of kilometers. This was not primitive survival. This was mastery. Third age, Enmenluana, 43,200 years. The transition period. Seasonal camps became permanent. the first experiments with controlling plant growth rather than simply harvesting wild species. Early proto-domestication of wolves into dogs, creating humanity's first deliberate partnership with another species. Permanent structures appeared, not just shelters but gathering spaces and ritual centers. The beginning of settled life, though still mobile enough to move with seasons. This age laid the groundwork for agriculture without fully achieving it. Fourth Age, and Mengalana, 28,800 years. A true agricultural revolution emerged in multiple locations independently. Domestication of plants and animals became a deliberate science. Wheat, barley, rice, corn, each required thousands of years of selective breeding to become the crops we know. Sheep, goats, cattle were transformed through careful selection. First permanent year-round settlements appeared. Population growth accelerated as food became more reliable. Pottery appeared, allowing food storage and fermentation. Trade networks formed between distant groups. The world's population was still small, perhaps a few million, but concentrated in ways never seen before. This was a turning point for agriculture. Fifth Age, Dumuzi, 36,000 years. Rise of proto-cities and complex societies. Social stratification emerged: chiefs, priests, craftspeople, farmers. Specialized crafts required years of training. Astronomical observations became systematic, tracking not just seasons but precise planetary movements, solar and lunar cycles, perhaps even the precession of equinoxes. Monumental architecture appeared, structures built not for practical purposes but for ritual, for memory, for legacy. Göbekli Tepe might be a remnant of this age, built at its height and deliberately buried as it ended, preserved by people who knew something was ending and wanted future ages to find proof they existed. Mathematics emerged not just for counting, but for calculating areas, volumes, astronomical predictions. Art became sophisticated, symbolic, laden with meaning we can only guess at. Sixth Age, Ensipaziana, 28,800 years long, was an age of advanced coastal civilizations, flourishing along coastlines that no longer exist. Maritime trade networks spanned thousands of kilometers. Sophisticated astronomical knowledge was encoded in monuments and traditions. Mathematics advanced enough for navigation, architecture, and timekeeping. Cities were built where oceans now roll, submerged beneath hundreds of feet of water, their ruins broken by 12,000 years of currents and sediment. This was the golden age that flood myths remember, the time before the deluge when humanity reached heights that seemed impossible to later generations. They may have developed writing, symbols, and signs whose meaning died with them. They had art, architecture, and social complexity rivaling anything that would come after. And they had no idea that the ice was melting, that the waters were rising, that their entire world was about to drown. Flood then came. Not 40 days and 40 nights, but centuries of rising waters. Coastlines retreated kilometers inland. Islands vanished. River deltas flooded. Entire regions were transformed from land to sea. The survivors, those who fled to higher ground carrying what they could, watched their world disappear, and they told their children that this is what the gods did when humanity grew too great. Seventh Age, our age, begins approximately 12,000 years ago when waters finally stabilized and the Holocene began. Survivors scattered across continents, carrying fragments, seeds of domesticated crops, knowledge of animal husbandry, stories of astronomy and mathematics, memories of cities beneath the waves. They gathered in river valleys where water was reliable and land was fertile. In Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, the Yellow River, and Mesoamerica, they rebuilt. Within a few thousand years, cities rose again. Sumer, Uruk, Eridu were called the first civilizations according to our textbooks, but they inherited far more than they invented. Writing reappears, different symbols, the same concept. Astronomical observations resume, different temples but the same stars. Mathematics returns, different notation but the same principles. We call this the beginning of civilization. The Sumerians knew better. They wrote that after kingship descended from heaven, after it came from somewhere else, somewhere before, the kingship was in Eridu. They were not the first. They were the inheritors. The seventh age, us. This framework explains anomalies that do not fit the standard timeline. Göbekli Tepe's sophisticated construction by hunter-gatherers may be remnants from the fifth age, preserved deliberately. The precise astronomical alignments in ancient monuments point to knowledge inherited from earlier ages. Flood myths found across the globe are cultural memory of the real catastrophe that ended the sixth age. Every civilization carries fragments from what came before. The Sumerians did not invent mathematics and astronomy from nothing. They inherited partial knowledge and rebuilt upon it. The Egyptians did not spontaneously develop monumental architecture. They were working from inherited concepts, fragments of techniques from ages before. What it means to be the seventh. If we are the seventh civilization, what does that mean for us? First, it means we are not climbing from zero. We are standing on accumulated knowledge from 6 previous ages. Every discovery we have made in recorded history, including agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, metallurgy, and architecture, was not a virgin revelation appearing spontaneously in Sumerian minds 5,000 years ago. They were rediscoveries, reconstructions, fragments inherited and rebuilt. Consider agriculture. The standard narrative says it was invented around 10,000 BCE in the Fertile Crescent, but transforming wild grasses into wheat, wild wolves into dogs, wild aurochs into cattle. These processes require thousands of years of deliberate selection, careful observation, and accumulated knowledge passed across generations. The Sumerians did not invent agriculture. They inherited domesticated species from the 6th age survivors and refined them further. Consider astronomy. The Sumerians tracked planetary movements with remarkable precision. They knew the Earth was round. They understood the precession of the equinoxes, a cycle taking 26,000 years to complete. How do you discover precession in a civilization supposedly only a few centuries old? You do not. You inherit the knowledge that someone else accumulated over thousands of years of observation. Consider mathematics. The Sumerian base 60 system appears fully formed, with no gradual development visible in the archaeological record. Because it was not developed by Sumerians, it was inherited from earlier ages that had already solved these problems. We've been taught that civilization is 5,000 years old. That's wrong. Civilization is at least 50,000 years old, cyclical and repeating. Our current iteration, the seventh age, is simply the most recent chapter whose written records survived long enough for us to read them. But it also means we're not immune to the pattern that destroyed the previous 6. Every civilization before ours fell, and each age has been progressively shorter. The first age lasted tens of thousands of years because cultural evolution was slow. Every advance took millennia. The second and third ages accelerated as inherited knowledge allowed faster development. By the sixth age, sophisticated civilization emerged within thousands of years rather than tens of thousands. We're in the shortest, fastest age yet. The seventh age has existed for roughly 12,000 years, from the end of the flood to now. Compare that to earlier ages, which lasted from 28,000 to 36,000 years. We're living in compressed time. And look at what we've done just in the last 200 years, less than 2% of our age's total span. We've industrialized. We split the atom. We reached space. We created machines that think. We're accelerating at a rate no previous civilization achieved, which raises the terrifying question, are we approaching our own collapse? The evidence overwhelmingly suggests yes. Climate instability, check. Global temperatures are rising faster than any natural cycle. Ice sheets are melting. Sea levels are beginning to rise just as they did 12,000 years ago. Resource depletion, check. We're consuming fresh water, topsoil, fossil fuels, minerals, and forests faster than they can regenerate. We are running a deficit that grows every year. Population exceeding carrying capacity, check. 8 billion humans require industrial agriculture, global supply chains, and complex infrastructure to feed, house, and maintain. Remove the systems and billions would starve within months. Systemic fragility, check. Our civilization is more interconnected, more complex, and more dependent on uninterrupted function of global systems than any previous age. One major disruption cascades catastrophically. These are the same patterns that destroyed earlier civilizations, but playing out on a global scale rather than regional. The Sumerians depleted their local environment. The Maya deforested their watershed. We are depleting and destabilizing the entire planet. We're not unique. We're not special. We're following the same trajectory as the 6 ages before us, just faster, bigger, and with more at stake, unless we learn from them. And that's the crucial difference. We have something no previous age possessed, historical records detailed enough to study the pattern. We can see what happened to Sumer, to Rome, to the Maya. We can identify the warning signs. We can theoretically choose differently. But will we? The pattern suggests otherwise. Every civilization thinks it's different, that it has broken free from the cycle. The Romans thought they had created an eternal empire. They fell. The Maya thought their gods favored them. They collapsed. We think our technology makes us invincible, but technology without wisdom is just more efficient self-destruction. The Sumerian king list is not just telling us we are the 7th. It is a warning that being 7th does not make us safe. 6 failed before us. The pattern continues unless something fundamental changes, not in our technology, but in our wisdom. And that is where the king list becomes crucial. It is not just a historical document. It is transmitted across 4,000 years. You are the 7th. 6 came before you. All fell. Learn from them or join them. The Sumerians encoded this warning in numbers we would struggle to interpret, ensuring we had to think deeply about what they meant. They preserved historical consciousness, the awareness that deep time exists, that civilizations rise and fall, that our moment is not unique. This is the knowledge that matters most, not technology, not even specific techniques. The pattern itself matters, the recognition that we are part of a cycle. What should we preserve for the 8th civilization, or the 9th, or for the one that finally breaks free? The message to the 8th: our digital knowledge will not survive. Hard drives degrade. Servers fail. Without electricity, our accumulated wisdom becomes inaccessible within decades. But some things will endure. Our modified crops and animals, wheat, rice, and corn that cannot survive without human cultivation. Dogs, cattle, and chickens shaped by selective breeding. These are living libraries of knowledge, encoding thousands of years of agricultural wisdom in their genes. Our structures, made of concrete and steel, will last millennia. Future archaeologists will excavate our cities the way we excavate Sumer, learning that we understood chemistry, metallurgy, and engineering. Our myths, stories of flying machines, instant communication, and cities lit by captured lightning. After enough generations, these will transform into legends of gods and magic. But the pattern will remain. They came before us. They knew great things. Then they fell. The warning itself, if we are wise, we will encode it the way the Sumerians did. In stone. In monuments aligned to astronomical constants. In symbols simple enough to transcend language. 6 marks representing ages that came before. 1 mark representing us, empty space for those who come after. A message. We were the 7th. We understood the pattern. We tried to break the cycle. Learn from our success or our failure. Breaking the cycle. Can the seventh age break the pattern? History says no. Every civilization before us fell. Each consumed more than it could sustain. Each grew too fast, too complex, too fragile. But history also shows each age preserved more than the last. The first age left only fragments, tools, bones, genetic traces. The sixth age left enough that the seventh age could rebuild quickly, establishing Sumer within a few thousand years of the flood. We're preserving more than any previous age. More knowledge, more technology, more understanding of the pattern itself. If we fall, and the evidence suggests we will, we'll leave enough that the eighth age might rise even faster, might reach even higher, might finally have the accumulated wisdom to achieve sustainability. That's the hope. Not that we'll survive forever, but that we'll contribute enough to the chain that some future civilization finally breaks free. We're not the climax of the story. We're another chapter, another attempt, another step in a process that's been unfolding for 50,000 years. And that's okay. That's enough. We don't need to be the final civilization. We just need to be the one that passed forward enough wisdom that the final civilization becomes possible. We are the seventh civilization. 6 rose before us. 6 fell. We stand on their accumulated fragments, inheriting their seeds, their stories, their half-remembered wisdom. The Sumerian king list is not ancient mythology. It's a compressed historical record encoded by people who understood the pattern and wanted to ensure we'd understand it too. 8 antediluvian kings. 6 complete epochs before the flood. 1 catastrophic reset. Then the seventh age, our age, beginning with progressively shorter reigns as the record transitions from deep time to historical time. This framework explains anomalies that mainstream archaeology struggles with. Göbekli Tepe, sophisticated astronomical knowledge appearing suddenly. Flood myths spanning the globe, structures that should not exist, knowledge that seems inherited rather than discovered. We didn't invent civilization. We inherited and rebuilt it, and someday we will fall. Climate change, resource depletion, pandemic, asteroid impact, solar storm, or some catastrophe we cannot yet imagine. The seventh age will end the way the previous 6 ended, but if we are wise, we will preserve the warning. We will encode the pattern. We will pass forward enough knowledge that the 8th age can learn from our mistakes. That's our purpose. Not to survive forever, that is impossible, but to contribute to the chain, to be the link that holds, to preserve fragments for those who come after. The clay prism in Oxford waits patiently, its message unchanged across 4,000 years. This has happened before. It will happen again. Remember, preserve, pass forward. 6 civilizations tried and fell. We are the 7th, attempting the same impossible task. More will come after us, until finally, some distant age, the 10th, the 20th, the 100th, accumulates enough wisdom to break the cycle, to build sustainably, to balance growth with renewal, to achieve what none before them could. They will owe their success to every civilization that preserved fragments, to the first age that discovered fire and language, to the 6th age that developed astronomy and mathematics, to us, the 7th age, who recognized the pattern and tried to pass it forward. That is legacy enough. Sleep well, dream of deep time, of cycles within cycles, of civilizations rising and falling like tides. We are the 7th. 6 came before. More will come after. The pattern continues. The story unfolds. And we are here now, in this moment, making choices that will echo long after our cities crumble to dust. Good night.